Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun. Hey, how you doing? Hey, so, all right, stop. Hi, my name is John Skippy Limcool. Hands together, head bowed. Hands together, head bowed. Hands together, head bowed. I am thrilled to have a little bit different layout, better cameras, to show you a new library that I am super proud of. This is Cloud City. And at the same time, we were developing Unify 1.1. So a lot of experiments that went into the feature set of MIDI Box and Jitterbox are found inside of this library. I'm really proud of it. Let me show you real quickly just a couple other places we can go sound-wise with the sounds of this library. So we got that kind of vibe covered. We've got complete songs, ideas, 4 different MIDI files, playing different OBXDs. They transpose. So we have, let's keep going. Cool. Let's go to the remix version, which is a little more you need a Nighthawk. I love the quad wheel on this. These are just ideas showing you the sounds that we have here. And this bass, MIDI Box is playing a pitch EG, doing a pitch bend on the bass. So without it, if we, well, here we got to hit bypass here. So without it, with it. So we're doing some cool tricks with MIDI Box beyond just playing the notes that you're hearing for the drum grooves and for the little melodies. That's also MIDI Box, but we can do far more insane, exciting new things than that. Also in this library, you can go to Exercise Class in 1994. Because all the sounds of Unify that come with Unify, the trance kit from Airwave, all the other synth sounds, those are all available, plus all the new samples that are in Cloud City. So we can go all sorts of cool places. Let me show you real quickly just a BPM perk thing or two. These are really insane. This is using 13 different sampled instruments. I sampled shakers of all sorts. I even sampled my avocado shaker, as well as tongue drums stuff. I'll show you those in a minute. But this is one note. Then you go to the real-time controllers. And then up here is flute. And if you go over here to this and change this to be a different flute type, now you get phrases. Now here's the insane part. With MIDI file type 1, it's really cool in that if you stack a whole bunch of patterns on top of each other that are all set to MIDI channel the same, when it saves out in certain DAWs, the way it's supposed to, not all of them do this, it makes them separate tracks. So I could open up, say, the Bendir, and I have a stack loaded, as I call it, and inside of there are 11 different patterns. And if I change a controller, if I change this, watch. See the pattern number change? It's doing that to every layer of percussion because they all have, I stacked them all up here. I'll post a picture on the screen of this. This is 13 tracks of different percussion instruments, 11 different patterns, and now you can switch and alternate between them. So you can go all over the place in real time, make that a pattern, record it into your sequencer, loop it, and now you have a new pattern based on all sorts of loops that are playing and switching in real time. And it gets even more nuts than that because there's 4 kits included with Cloud City. There is a incredible hip hop kit from Mel Chaos Lewis. And as you can see, there's all these grooves here, right? That all say chaos. These are all from that same kit. They're all assigned by stack, meaning that all these patches are actually the same patch, just say with a slightly different pattern set, so you can quickly call these up. But you can change to any of them. And that goes for all 4 kits. Chaos. The down-tempo thriller kit has 46. So you can cycle between these, and these kits have 61 samples across the keyboard, like 8 or 9 different kicks, 8 or 9 different snares, all sorts of different hi-hats. So there's a lot of variety. As you play these, they don't sound like it's one map. It's not just one drum kit like you're used to in most machines that just get one kick and one snare. These all come from the same kit. But there's different samples used. And then Hip Skip is a hip hop kit I designed. Anywhere from the simple stuff. Yeah. We can go all sorts of these places now, and so fun. And then the 4th kit is a World Percussion kit. And it has, I've sampled, like I showed you, the shakers, this big Bendir, rain stick. This is the Buffalo drum. And then Sonny is a customer who played the flute that you heard earlier. He also recorded a Xylo bell patch that's really cool, and a Sun drum, which is an even bigger drum than this as far as big skin drum. So those are all in the library. When you go to drum kit, let's see, right, BPM, right here, drum kit, World Percussion. And that's the Taos. This drum right here. Ugh. I bought this in New Mexico, in Santa Fe. And because humidity is different, it's so interesting. It's a different tune today than it was when I recorded it. Cajon. So all these shakers, most of these are set to what we call random round robin. If you assign more than one sample to the same note, it will play and randomly choose between whatever samples are in that pool. Huge wind gong. Finger cymbals, triangles, these really delicate little metal shells that are so cool. Those are all inside of this kit, but they're also available down here as perc maps. So you can just say rain stick. And as you go up the keyboard, they're both long and short. So you can use these for making like a really big, dramatic, bigger than a shaker. And I'm playing different notes. This is so fun. So it's like 25 different samples. I'm free of the limit of 8 samples in a patch, max, which was by using 8 different patches in Omnisphere to make a patch for each sample. The limit was 8. I've done some contact libraries, but there's so many people doing contact libraries, I'm not really interested in going in that path. With Unify, it's free for me to do whatever I want. So if I want to sample on every note on the keyboard, I can do that. As you can see, there is a ton of stuff to go through that's really fun. Let me show you the World Percussion kit real quick, and then we'll go to the bells, and like I'm going to just give you a walkthrough, but I just want to make sure you get the vibe of this library. It's the expanse of this and what you can do with this is really exciting. So BPM perc right here. There's 2 sets. Right here is single. These are because they're using just one of the single instruments, the shaker by itself, like the black shaker. And BPM means that it's ready to go with rhythm and sync. Okay? If you go down here to perc, shaker, LP black plastic, you have samples up to F sharp. All of the percussion maps start at low C1 and go up from there depending on how many samples there are. Some don't have that many, some have. You know, half a keyboard, over 30 samples. So there's all sorts of things to choose from. The cajon, it goes flams, all sorts of stuff to play with. As you can see, we now have photos for all of the library patches. I can put a custom photo in for each of the sounds so you can see what it is. For some that are more vibe oriented, I have photos that I have either taken myself, gotten permission, or else I belong to a website where I have access to a ton of photos that are license free for commercial use. Also, I want to point out, and this is a really special thing to me, a friend of mine by the name of Mark Adamus is a landscape photographer down here in Corvallis, south of where I live. And I consider him by far to be the most talented, dedicated, unique, one-of-a-kind landscape photographer on the planet. And he has given me permission to include a handful of his photos as the photo for the sounds that you can... So if you want to see more information, know more about Mark, see some jaw-dropping photos that will just... He will go out into a wilderness on snowshoes for 2 weeks when it's below 0 the whole time to get the photos. Go to markadamus.com. He also does tours worldwide. You can sign up for tours where he'll take you to some remote place in New Zealand for a week. And I hope to do one of those trips someday. Mark is so inspiring. It's really cool. There's a couple wind patches that have his photos too. I mean, he's standing in the Canadian Rockies on a frozen lake and the wind's blowing like 70 miles an hour directly at him. That's snow across the ice. So tried to make a sound to give it justice to the photo, right? And there's real-time macro knobs to all these, so play different places on the keyboard. You get all sorts of really cool windy texture things. And we use that in all sorts of really cool ways. There's things like this, like these environmentals where it's like a wind and we've got birds. We've got really cool bells. We have meditation bells, both struck and rubbed, I believe. So you hear the wood on the top of the bowl. So this library, it's really special, really, really special. It's the first library I've done for Unify, and I really wanted to go to some unique places. We have some cool tools to play with. There's one shots where you play one note, and it does these really fast arpeggiated sequences. And you can open up MIDI Box, and you could go over here and you could set it to be looped. Right? And you go here to the fractional to speed up his play. Let's have it play 4 times faster. Or 16 times faster. And then go 500% faster than that. And now you're killing polyphony, but you're making cool sound design sounds. Crazy stuff. Now if we go back and we revert, we also did these sub basses that are really huge and beautiful. Just take up the entire low spectrum, which is great. Well, if you take one of those sub basses and that harmonic string cloud one shot and a really cool groove, you get Twilight, which is right here. So you play one note and so cool. So all sorts of cool places to go with sound. So the one shots and how they can be used to make creative things like that. There's bells, like all over the place, lots of really cool bells. You need bells in the clouds. Tongue drum is where this library actually started. I recorded both a black and a blue tongue drum. They're right here. He has 8 different tongues. The black one has 11 tongues, and if I play this on the keyboard, pretty close. And with this you can and I went back after this first session for the open and I recorded it with tape. And I did it with 4 velocities taped, and it's a whole different sound. Because now you don't hear the overtones. Before this, you hear all the overtones of all the other tongues. With the tape, those overtones are squashed because there's tape holding the other tongues from vibrating. And it's so fun to just take this, go to a pad, even while you're playing. We have real-time seamless switching. Let's say we want to add strato, so we right-click, add into a Unify layer. Let's go up an octave. And about about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, I made a pad during a live stream from the tongue drum. I played it, I was feeding it into reverb, and it made this really, really cool sound called Endless Dreams. We can just add that. We have this really cool swirly effect. So I have added 2 additional Unify to the original black muted tongue drum that I created. Think of this like a 3 oscillator synthesizer. I have 3 different components I have combined. My processor is showing less work than if I'm playing a pad in Serum. So it's really liberating to be able to just easily add any of these patches together. Let's right click and add a flute to this. It's a flute that's been processed through granular, so it's a little special. So this is like a 4 oscillator patch. Plus I have 8 real-time knobs. Doing things to the sounds, all in real time. Crazy, crazy fun. So that, yeah, that's the that's the black tongue drum. The blue tongue drum is smaller, so it's a more and open tone. It's more like a cowbell kind of. Again, 4 velocities. If you watch the little meters here, you can see as I play. So it's nice and expressive, and add a piano to it. It's wonderful. Then I took individual samples from these and I put them through the Mega Magic reverb processing that I love to do. And just a single sample, like up somewhere there. That's E5, right there, or G4. And that reverb is recorded into the samples. That makes it really special. It doesn't get muddy. Usually if you have this much reverb on something, it gets muddy, but not when it's in the sample. It doesn't get to interact with the sounds around it. I added distortion and cool vibey stuff. I could say radio right here. And here's a keyboard sound using that sound. And this is one of those where I want to show you the macros really quickly because this is super, super cool. This doesn't have enough, it rings too long. So check this out. I'm going to go over here and click and say linked parameters. And all I have to do is click and go to the plugin. This is this first instrument. There's only one instrument. And you go to the Guru sampler, and here's the list of everything you can change in real time with knobs. And we can go to amp release. And what I can do that is so cool is I could say I want when it's down at the bottom to be short, and I can hear it as I move this. I hear the results in real time. From there to when I get to max, let's let it ring out for 7 seconds. So I can close this and double click here and say amp release. And now, if I have this down short, it's... And if I use my controller... So you can create real-time controls to any plugin that you own. If you add Zebra to this, when you go to the real-time macro list and you look at the parameters for that layer and you see Zebra, it will show you all the parameters of Zebra. It's super powerful. And then you'd go save, and you would save this to a user library of your creation or to the user library that we provide, I can just hit save because this will update to the, I have a version of the library that I can overwrite as I build it. Thank goodness. So I have added that parameter to this. So before July 1st, I'm going to be releasing an update to the library, and it will have these fixes, you know, blue TV rates. Okay, I'll have probably like filter. Let's open this up and do filter really quick. So if I look at here, there's a low pass filter. I want to bring down the filter velocity. So we just go over here, we say link parameters. Oh, there's some stuff happening. Oh, it's already doing kind of a, but I don't like what it's doing. So I'm going to just get rid of those and go over here and say instrument, Guru sampler, filter, and where is it? Get my eyes to work. Velocity filter cutoff. So it starts there, but when it comes over here, and while it does that, I also want to go and add another control. You can take the filter envelope amount. Oh, it's there. There. So sometimes I like to have it where the minimum is where it's supposed to be. And in cases like this, I say filter, cutoff, minus. I put a minus so you know that it's inverted. So if you want to do really dark high pop, record that, maybe. There we go. So you have those kinds of controls to do. Super easy to go. All right, so we have bells. There's all sorts of different bells. I showed you the percussion. I showed you the basses. Let me show you some of the other bells. Here's the prayer bell. We also have the meditation bell. And you see a photograph of it. It's downstairs in my front room. And also endless. This is with me rubbing on the top with the wood dowel. Okay. We also have some really cool things that are round robin, random round robin. And what this means is that, well, to start, it's subtle. We're just calling up different samples for the different velocity ranges. But we also have some that are insane, where you play the same note. So each time you play, it's different. Sometimes it's octaves up, sometimes it's octave downs. What's fun is to go to all the libraries, type key, and find some sort of a cool keyboard that doesn't go up and down in pitch. Like maybe space piano, right click, say add this as a unify layer. Maybe hold down Option and transpose it down an octave. So you can do stuff like that really easily. Let's see, Cloud City, go back here. Sunny Xylo Bell is also really cool. This really nice kind of like xylophone, but it's big. It's not your normal tiny xylo that has a really small, sharp tone. And this is a version with nice reverb for a dreamy effect. Really cool. BPM. We have so much BPM stuff to play with. It's not even funny. I'll show you that in just a second. Keys inside of Cloud City. They go some really cool places. There's a Crystal Dreamer. This cat that is a customer that sent me some really inspiring patches. This, the organ patch. And this is additive, meaning that each one of these is a sine wave at the different partial frequencies. So you can crazy stuff. There's, like I showed you, the piano that we worked on. Other keyboard sounds. Crystal Dreamer's working on a library we're going to be releasing for Unify. It is really amazing. Then pads. We have some wonderful pads. Not your normal, what you call pads in most cases. They have special qualities to them. These are using some of the flute samples that Sonny played, and then I've processed them with granular processing. So that's just one note. To get that chord is all part of the granular synth engine I used. From output, it's really cool. And if I wanted to remember, because I can't remember the name of that, I can go over here to this list and say output. Portal. That was it. Okay, so there's all sorts of different, here's the tongue drums processed. I did this in the live stream with reverb. Right, just really cool stuff. So there's also, in this library, there's this gentleman named Bill Henry, who's a composer, writes these really beautiful musicals, and records the singers, and then he's contacted me and we've worked out a relationship where I can license these sounds to be used in the library. There's 47 vocal chops. Of all sorts of really cool things. Also under phrase, Sonny played those flute phrases I played earlier. And there's processing on these, so if we were to mute all the processing, they're dry. The other thing that's cool with this, let's get the reverb back on because it sounds cool. But what's cool is you can go over here to the sampler and you can actually call up just a single sample to play across the whole keyboard. You can move the sample start. Then check this out. If you want to really have fun, let's go up here. Let's call up a couple BPM drum grooves. Let's call up a chaos groove. Let's call up a bell tongue. These are the tongue drum performances. I haven't even shown you these yet, but this will freak you out. Let's go to hip skip and let's call up this. We have a cool. And we're going to get this all to work cohesively. Watch this. Right click on these and play C1 for these new layers. And then we need to go to the transport and tell it also to be just C1. And then we need to go to each of these and set them to mono latch. And then hit the little green, the little L so it goes green. And now I've made a groove down on low C. Here's Here's the tongue drum samples. It's a little performance I did on the tongue drum, and then I recycled it. Maybe I want a different pitch. I can go over here to the chorus. And then play flute phrases. So if you're doing urban and rap and hip hop styles and you need new source for really cool phrases, these flute phrases from Sonny are just incredible. So go over here earlier and same with the vocal phrases. So let's go down here to Vox, to the female vocal chops. Maybe I just want to work with that sample, so that's E3, I believe. So I go down here to E3. Shorten the release. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of creative things you can do with all the vocal chops and the flute phrases in the course of a groove. I'm going to make a separate video showing how to do what I just did to make the groove, to explain the steps and how it works, how to get your own MIDI files into the parts, so it's not just doing what I've designed it to do, but you can have it do what you want it to do. So that's a separate video coming up. I'll cover that really quickly. Those vocal chops I told you about, they're presented, 23 of the 47 are presented in a cool way where there is a chords, it's a combination of a synth layer and the vocal sample. Then it's also presented in two different lead forms. They're both monophonic. One is a single sample. And in a case like this, you might want to open up and go to the sample start. Make it later. There's random sampling starting playing. And then unsolo this or unmute the layer of 2, and it gives you a melody that go along with it. Okay, and then lead version 2 is 5 layers detuned with reverb and pump house. Really cool for dance styles. So the scope of this library is massive. So there's 1,500 samples, somewhere around that neighborhood. There's the 4 different drum kits, the Chaos Iconic. These all have a MIDI box ready to go. You just have to bypass it. You got your tempo right here. Double click if you want. You can see that it says stack, which means if you go to the knobs, you can change the patterns. Right? Down-tempo thriller. Now, I made a drum kit with the same name, shame on me, for Super Macho drums. And I actually started with that kit for Unify. But I decided that I wanted to replace a lot of the samples. I wasn't happy with the kicks and snares, so I did them again, made new ones. So those are here. If you unmute this, here's a really fun thing you can do. Take this and go over here and say duplicate this layer and go to MIDI Box and change the root key like an octave or so. So if you solo, it's just up there high in pitch, right? Okay. So combine the two, then turn on by hitting the little B to turn on jitterbox. Let's turn off pitch jitter. And I'm going to change this to be quarter note random between 100% for these two ranges. So it's just anywhere between a quarter note and an eighth note or 16th note. It's randomizing that second layer that's tuned up in pitch. And we could go over here, turn off browse, and make this a little bit bigger so we can look at this. And say we want to add a reverb. Let's go Hall. Get rid of the low cut. And then if you want to really go crazy, just go over here to Jitterbox and turn on pitch jitter, which makes it randomize the notes. So it's just going to randomly choose 41% of the time a random note of the second layer of your drum groove. So to get drum grooves that have sonic interest, it's a cool new way to do it. And then you can go to the controls. See, this is work I have to do. I have to get this all set up. So you've got speed and velocity and pattern and all that kind of stuff. That'll be how it ships when it ships before July 1st. That's the work I have to do. So, oh, where else can I show you? One last thing in the BPM section I was telling you about. There's so much here that it's really, really fun to explore. There's BPM basses. Some have hidden drum grooves in them. So we go BPM bass. Get some really cool places with just these four knobs. Then over here's Acid Rain. So there's that, Deep City Bassline. There's quite a few basses. One from Airwave. I told you about the tongue drum jams. These I've just played. Just real time played, and then I've chopped them up with Recycle. And there's a couple with the black tongue drum. And they're all tempo sync. So I could go over here to Chaos, hold down Shift. So you can get really cool rhythm things so quickly. So yeah, you can have lots of fun with the BPM bells. There's 15 of them, of just the blue, and then 2 of the black drum. I love this one. Let's add some more drums. I gotta go drums real quick. So there's that to play with. If you get past the BPM drum stuff, here's a really cool guitar thing that one of our beta testers created. That's really cool. Thank you, Ken. Then there's pads with BPM qualities. Airwave did some that have really cool, using MIDI Box to change MIDI CC1, which is controlling the filters, to just give a cool motion. So you can go to this MIDI box and you can speed it up or slow it down, and then go to the sampler and go right here to the filter, have it cover a wider range, bring up the resonance. Cool stuff. Then there's into this stuff, the Poly MIDI. I want to take a minute to share these with you. This is really fun because this is taking a single MIDI file and then using Polybox, which we created and released in 1.0.12. This can take a monosynth to make it polyphonic. It can also take a single MIDI file and make it polyphonic. Same premise. The only difference is each layer, instead of being a monosynthesizer, is a pad with MIDI box playing. So it's just a single note stream from MIDI box, but each of those MIDI boxes could be polyphonic. I didn't go there because that's a little bit too crazy, but the end result is I've got this really cool chordal thing happening. It's not an arpeggiator, it's MIDI box playing. And then you can experiment with this. You could go to each one of these, like this one that's 1, 2. Let's have this one be 2, 1, so it's playing twice as fast. And have this one be, let's say, 4, 2, and this one here be super fast at like 6, 2. And each of those layers could be a completely different plugin that you own. Doesn't have to be this. You could replace the Groove Sampler. Just go swap and choose any plugin you have in your computer and make it to where you're playing polyphonic MIDI files that are playing all sorts of different sounds. I have examples of things kind of like that. Really cool. Or Tangled 2. So, then BPM Perc. This is a huge category. Like I showed you at the very beginning, the World Percussion Kit. There's MIDI files of all these ensemble grooves using shakers and the drums. Right? There's all the singles, just the leather rattle by itself, or clave. And again, if you go to another groove, right click and say load into new unify layer. Oh, you have 2 times claves. Then go to MIDI box, right click. So it's so easy to build grooves and have fun. Okay. On top of this, a dear friend of mine named Richard Souther lives in Utah. I've worked on records with him many, many years ago. He's a wonderful person. He created some 6/8 grooves that have some unique qualities to them. He's using pitch bend and other controls, I believe, as well. I think it's mainly just pitch bend to play all sorts of really cool. And you can take the 6/8 groove, and if you want, you add a 4/4 groove to it, and it gets like tricky timing. So it can go there. Go to BPM bass. Let's say we want to say maybe driven to do it. That's cool. But underneath all of it is a 6/8 groove. So you can go all sorts of fun places with that type of stuff. Finally, I want to show you there's also recycle grooves. These are actual drum loops I've created over the last 20 years that I have put into here. Some of these like this I made for Beautifully Broken, an Atmosphere library. It sounds much better played this way than with a granular engine in Atmosphere because the fidelity is better. It's not broken up into little tiny pieces. It's actual samples. Right click, add a new one. Let's add Merc. Then you can go up here to the percussion or other stuff. Add in a Unify. Right? Turn it down a little bit. So, groove is in the house. Creative, beautiful bells and pure sounds are in the house. Flute phrases, vocal chops are in the house. Granular pads, textures, sound effects, environments. It's a huge library. There's a lot to play with. It will take you a long time to go through it. And I hope you enjoy it. It was definitely a labor of love to create. So enjoy, and we'll see you in another video soon covering. Now I have to make some tips and tricks about how to build this stuff yourself, which is part of the support I want to provide. So those are coming right up. So thanks again for watching. Bye.